Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Shire of 2J Ordinary Council meeting of the 26th of June 2025. As we begin, I acknowledge the Ballardong Noongar people, the traditional custodians of land where we meet today, and the Ewart and Whadjuk people who are custodians of other lands within the Shire of 2J. And I pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. Before we get started, I'll remind the members of the public in the gallery of the requirement not to talk amongst themselves, not to interrupt the meeting, and show due deference to the proceedings. The first item on the agenda is apologies from councillors. We have apologies for their absence from Councillor Madachi and Councillor Wrench. I don't think we have any approved leave of absence applications. We have some disclosure of interests. We have a disclosure of interest from myself for an impartiality interest and for item 9.3.1 because I'm a member of the 2J Agricultural Society. An impartiality interest from Councillor Devell for item 9.3.1. She is also a member of the 2J Agricultural Society. An impartiality interest from Councillor Devell for item 9.3.1 because she knows a committee member on the Moondine Festival Committee. An impartiality declaration from Councillor Prater for item 9.2.2 because a family member of his appears in the list of payments. From Councillor Prater also in relation to 9.3.1 because Councillor Prater is a member of the 2J Agricultural Society, and an impartiality interest from Councillor Prater for item 9.4.2 as he is a member of the 2J Race Club. In the agenda, there are responses to previous public questions taken on notice in item 4.1, which I will leave for people to read. They are quite lengthy questions and lengthy answers. Which brings us to public question time, item 4.2. We have questions registered from, is Mr. Hart here tonight? No. So we have questions registered from several other people. The first cab off the rank to ask a question this evening is Mr. Lamass. Would you like to ask your first two questions, please?
Good afternoon, Aldo Lamas, ratepayer and resident of the Shire of 2J. Question one, as per the Main Roads WA grants contribution from the State Black Spot Program and the Federal Black Spot Program and the Capital Works Program from the Shire of 2J 24-25, the Bindi Bindi 2J Road project was approved between SLK 7.02 and SLK 9.1A. However, it appears the project was completed only up to SLK 8.53, approximately 650 meters short of the approved scope of funding provided by Main Roads. Could you please explain the reason for this shortfall? And will this affect or reduce the total funds allocated by Main Roads?
Acting CEO, defer to the Exec Manager? Exec Manager?
Through the Chair, works are not completed and due to be completed in 25-26.
So why the signage was installed at SLK 8.53, the signage that you display the starting point and end point of the Black Spot program?
I guess that's partly a debate. I guess the question was, what was the reason for the shortfall? Did you answer that? Okay. Next question, Mr. Lamass.
Question number 2. At the April OCM, the Shire President and Executive Manager of Infrastructure confirmed that the Bindi Bindi Tujai project from SLK 20.35 to 22.67, starting at one main road, was completed in November 2024. Could you please explain why there are only 3 lists of payments for this project, all which appears to relate to the design works paid to Zone 50 surveys with no evidence of road works completed on site?
Yeah, I've got a thought about this, but I'll defer at the moment to the CEO.
Through the Chair, following a full investigation, we can confirm that the previous misallocated works have now been correctly reallocated to the appropriate counts.
The question is, has the work been completed? Because it's no signs of road works completed on that section.
My understanding, this was road widening, wasn't it, at that section, and that was completed as far as I know. I've driven up there and it was...
I'm sorry, but it's not
Okay,
completed. I
well, you've
drove
had-
down there
sorry,
and it's
I'm not
nothing
going to
completed
debate it
down
with,
there.
not debating it, so that's your answer.
No, but we need to
No,
we need
no,
to
please,
state the facts.
please, there is no debate.
Okay.
That's your 2 questions.
Yeah.
The next person is, Ms. Blatchford. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Dolores Blatchford and I'm speaking on behalf of the residents of Davies Road, the sealing of this road. A petition was handed in personally into the Shire office on the 7th of November 2023 and was stamped. On the 30th of August 2024, we were advised by the Executive Manager Infrastructure and Assets that Council approved the budget for 24-25 at the OCM this week, which included an item of $50,000 for the sealing of Davies Road. A further $17,500 was later allocated. The Executive Manager Infrastructure and Assets advised us on the day that the work was commencing, 11th of December 2024. On the 23rd of March 2025, sent an email to the Executive Manager Infrastructure and Assets expressing disappointment that the work appeared to have ceased and to inspect the washouts on the road. We would like to know where this money has gone. Thank you.
Okay. Exec Manager, can you enlighten us on this?
Through the Chair, works were not estimated correctly and seal was never tendered for. The project was stopped due to over budget.
Yeah, look, I'd like to add to that, that there was no sealing of Davies Road was not included in the 24-25 budget. To my memory, it was for resheeting. Is that correct, Exec Manager?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
We have emails which say that it was.
Look, I know, I understand your point, but I'm just telling you it wasn't in the budget. So if somebody's told you something else, I can talk to you about that later, but that's just how it is. I'm happy to talk to you later on. Okay, no, I get it. I understand your frustration, so maybe we can talk later on, or I can get in touch with you. Next question is Mr. Ruthven. You've got a couple of questions, have you?
Peter Ruthven, resident ratepayer. There was a lot of conjecture about the running costs of the aquatic centre and the 2J Rec Centre as a whole. First, looking at the aquatic centre, what was the total cost of running the aquatic centre for the season? Not just the contract management, but also Shire employees, administration costs, consumables, utilities, which I'm reading the thing, answer says are not available, and water testing. And please say whether GST is included.
Sandra, exec? No, this is about money. So, yeah.
That's okay. So the cost was $270,888. The cost of the utilities for the pool are unknown because there's only 1 metre for the entire rec centre and the pool, so we don't know what the exact split between those two sites are. And these costs do not include GST.
I think an amount includes everything except utilities.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, the total rec centre, as I've noted on this, for the financial year, it hasn't quite finished yet, so we'll...
Yep.
Do you want to leave that one and go on to the next one?
Um,
Do you want to leave that question and go on to your next one?
no, I can ask it now and then it's on the books waiting.
There is, but seeing as you're not asking the question about the rec centre at this meeting, are you asking the question about the rec centre or not?
Yes, I'm
Or
asking.
can you, okay, you have to, well, let us have that question then.
What was the total cost of the Shire running the entire recreation centre, including the aquatic centre, 2024-25 financial year? As we still have 2 days to go for the end of the financial year, I know that one's going to have to wait until...
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next person to ask some questions is Mr Hefferon. Mr Hefferon? Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Mr Ruthven.
Sean Hefferon, resident ratepayer, editor of 2J Herald. Look, I'll sit down because my questions have been answered and it's all documented. I won't waste any further time.
Well, if you don't ask them, they won't be recorded.
Oh, okay. Thanks for the clarification
Yeah.
to my unsubmitted question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can read it for you if you like, the first one. Can the
No.
if you want me to, it's there. It'll take a while to find it. You'll track it down. It's the one about the international
Okay,
food. Yeah, that's the one, yeah.
Can you please update the status of the 4 events planned to replace the food festival?
CEO. Exec manager.
Through the chair, event planning is currently occurring in the team, and events will be announced when they are ready.
I will add to that if you look through tonight's agenda, there are a couple of events included in the items on tonight's agenda, so you might get some more information before the end of the evening.
Thank you.
So what's your second question?
Can the Shire clarify whether the underspend in roads of 860k is tied to any particular road project, so further work is pending? So which one, and also what project or works does the 75k work in?
Exec manager?
Sorry, through the chair. When the council adopts the 25-26 budget, unfinished capital work projects will be included in the budget as a carry-forward project. The details of the actual versus budget expenditure is detailed in page 120 and 121 of the attachments of this meeting.
So if you turn to page 120 and 121, you can see the progress on each road in the financial statements. Can we come back to the question about work in progress? Do we know what that refers to?
Through the chair, I can't at this stage.
So take that
on
take that
notice.
part on notice. Okay, thank you. Mr Hefferon, is that 2? That's 2, yeah. Mrs Pearce.
Susan Pearce, ratepayer and resident, Salt Valley Road. 2024 Auditor General Report provides a disclaimer opinion on the audit of the Shire's finances, as there was insufficient evidence to form an opinion on the accuracy of the Shire's financial statements. This item in the agenda is marked confidential. I have 4 questions in relation to this. I'll ask the first 2.
Yes. Yep.
If there are one section that exposes the Shire to risk, what has prevented the Council from redacting those sections and releasing the finance and governance opinions of this audit report?
Acting CEO.
The answer to this is quite lengthy, so it'll take me a little while to read it out.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Could you please speak into your microphone, and perhaps the Shire President could turn his off, because we can't hear at the back what is being said.
Mrs Pearce, thank you.
So,
Well, I'm just letting you
Stop
know.
that, Mrs Pearce. I'll chair the meeting, not you. Just be quiet, please.
No, I'm just
Right,
letting you
Mrs.
know that
Pearce.
we cannot hear at the back. Surely you would like that
Mrs Pearce,
information.
please be quiet now. We're remedying it. We're taking your advice. Just calm down.
the Auditor-General's position on confidentiality is stated in their audit practice statement from the Office of Auditor-General, and I'll just read that out. Now, we're also working on the confidentiality of audit files and working papers through strict provisions of the Audit General Act. An exemption from any confidentiality sections from the Freedom of Information Act from 1992. This means the OAG considers its audit-related documents, especially working papers, draft opinions and management letters, to be confidential. These documents are generally not released under FOI due to their sensitive nature and the potential to compromise audit integrity or public trust. And there's a link on the Auditor General's website which explains this, and that's the reason why they're kept confidential.
Thank you for that. Would you then please explain, Mr Shire President, why in previous years these have been released?
No. Could you move to your next question, please?
What action has the CEO and the Council taken to ensure that this retrograde step of a disclaimer opinion after the earlier qualified opinion is overturned for the 24-25 year?
Acting CEO.
The CEO and the management team will work with the auditors to ensure that the information required by the auditor to complete a satisfactory audit is supplied.
I think that takes us back to Mr Lemass. No, sorry, Mrs Ruthven. Yeah. Sorry, Mr Lemass. Yeah.
Beth Ruthven, ratepayer resident, West 2J. These questions were relating to the rental at 42 Jubilee Street. Has the bond been returned to the Shire, and if not, why not?
I think the first question I have here is, has the Shire vacated the rental premises? Is that the first question you submitted or registered?
Sorry, yes it is. It was on the previous page.
Yeah, okay. So would you just run that by us?
Has the Shire vacated the rental property at 42 Jubilee Street? If so, when?
Yeah, on the 19th of May.
The next one is, has the bond been returned to the Shire, and if not, why not?
Acting CEO, do you know the answer to that?
Yes, the bond hasn't been returned yet. The Shire has to pay one water bill and one electricity bill before the bond is returned in full.
Now I think we're back to Mr Lemass.
Question number 1. At the May OCM, in reference to item 4.2.6 from the March 2025 OCM, question number 2 from Mr. Roth, seeking clarification on the total cost today for the Bindi Bindi to J Road project SLK 5.63 to 7.02 and SLK 7.02 to 9.18. The response indicates that the total cost showing in the April 25 financial statement was $2,263,729,000. Could you please explain why, after reviewing all the list of payment for these projects up to the 30th of May 2025, I can only calculate $1,501,827,000 in payments. Thus, the remaining $761,901 represent wages for the Chaya Construction's employees, or have some transactions being omitted from the records?
There's a money question, CEO. Would you like to answer?
Yes, so what you're looking at are the creditor payments only, so that doesn't include any labour costs, labour on costs and internal labour hire.
Quick question, because I basically just for clarification, I went through all the list of payment that you put on the attachments, and down there, I include all the, in your answer, you say machinery hire, but the machinery hire, you refer to machinery hire from the Shire or external?
The Shire, so it's internal machinery hire.
Internal, yeah, okay, thank you.
Next one.
Question number 2. As part of the capital work programs for the current financial year, the following roads, Davis Road, Salt Valley Road, Hoddeswell Road, and Phillips Road, were approved in the budget for resealing and other upgrades. However, this work hasn't been yet completed. Could you please confirm whether these projects will be carried forward into 25-26 financial year? And if it's no, how will the grant funds provided under the Roads to Recovery program be reallocated?
Okay, I might pass this over to the exec manager.
Sorry, through the chair. Works were not completed due to insufficient estimating of the works. Sealing works were not sent out for tendering, and the Roads to Recovery program funds were never approved.
The Roads to Recovery program, it works that every year you get an allocation. The child, doesn't matter what, and you get an allocation and you set it to different projects. So where the money goes, I understand that probably
That's a different question, Mr. Lamass.
yeah, but where the money is
Okay,
going, because the money is getting to the child, where
Okay,
it has been redistributed.
I'm not going to debate it with you. You've had your answer.
Yeah, but that's not where
You
the
don't
money is
have,
going.
I've said this before, you don't have to agree with the answer, you don't have to be happy with the answer.
My question is where the money is going.
No, the question wasn't where the money's
Where
going.
is reallocated? Yeah,
No.
read the last part.
No, you did not ask that question. I've got it here in front of me.
How about look the last paragraph? Roads to Recovery program be reallocated. The
No,
funds.
that's not where the money's gone.
Sorry?
That,
Don't get upset, I just asked
oh,
you
look,
a question.
I'm going to ask you to sit down.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Who was that? I don't know who that was, but please don't do it. Mr. Ruthven.
Again. The next question, still relating to the aquatic centre, etc. How is the swimming pool being managed during the off-season? Notice the answer that's been given on the thing says done by the Shire, but that's who. The question I ask is how.
Yeah, Sandra, exec manager.
We have, through the chair, we have given a response because it was under our operating budget that the pool was looked after over the off-season. And in terms of how, we have a pool lifeguard, a duty manager on staff who carried out all the works that were needed during the off-season.
Thing relates to the rates that were passed in a resolution and advertised. And I asked if you're aware that the rate for unimproved general is 8.7 times that rate was in 2024. This is what's been passed by resolution and advertised.
So you're asking, are we aware? Am I aware? Or the council aware? The answer is yes. And while you're there, seeing as you've only got one more question and it relates to the same topic, would you like to ask your next question?
Well, I think you've already answered on the things to how many ratepayers are there in this category who receive this increase. And you've said that the rates haven't been set yet. So what you're saying effectively is that none of these rates that are advertised really mean anything at all.
No, okay. The question is, how many ratepayers are in this category who will receive this massive increase? Is that your question?
Right? Yeah,
The question is, how many ratepayers are there in this category who will receive this massive increase? Is that your question?
I asked how about that, and you said none. And
That's
then
right.
I
Well,
said,
but the public hasn't heard that. So your question was, how many ratepayers are there in this category who will receive this massive increase? And the answer is none, because council has not set the rates for the 25-26 financial year yet.
clarifying that, it means those rates that have been advertised don't mean anything. Is that correct? You're going to create completely new figures.
No, the rates that have been advertised for the purposes of the budget.
Thank you.
But the budget itself has not been adopted yet.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Heffernan.
Thank you, Shire President. This is my third and last question. I understand that the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee met on June 5, 2025. Has the committee had any other meetings in 2025? And are the minutes of the 2025 committee meetings to be posted to the Shire's website? And if not, why not?
Good question for the acting CEO.
There's quite a comprehensive response in here, but just to summarise, the audit committee meetings, because the audit committee doesn't have delegated authority, the meeting is not open to the public, and the minutes don't have to be published on the website in accordance with the admin regs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heffernan. Mrs. Pearce.
These next two questions relate to the audit. The disclaimer of opinion is likely to affect the community confidence in the performance of both the CEO and council in their role and responsibilities in Shire finances. How will this reputational risk be managed by council and the Audit and Risk Committee and the administration?
Thank you. Acting CEO.
The disclaimer of opinion is in relation to the 2023-24 financial year. It is noted that the current CEO and management team were employed by the Shire in the 24-25 financial year. The current leadership team is in dialogue with the Audit and Risk Committee with strategies to manage the 24-25 audit.
Thank you. Mrs. Pearce, your next question.
What processes did the Audit and Risk Committee use to ensure that the CEO and the council met their responsibilities for the audit report requirements?
Yeah, okay. That the CEO's advised me that's a matter for the Audit and Risk Committee, not for the council. So,
Well, the question says, what did the Audit and the Risk Committee
yeah.
do to ensure that they met their responsibilities for the audit requirements?
When you're talking about the audit report requirements, what are you actually meaning by the audit report requirements?
Reading the letter that was in the agenda attachments, the Auditor General, in the report in that letter, indicated that the audit of the Shire's finances could not be done because there was insufficient evidence to form an opinion and an accuracy. So my question is, what and how did the Audit Risk Committee, what process did they put in place to make sure that this information was provided to the auditor?
Okay. That's not the responsibility for the Audit and Risk Committee. It's not their responsibility to provide anything to the auditor for audit. The figures that are forwarded for audit come from the administration of the Shire of 2J, not from the Audit and Risk Committee.
I understand that.
I haven't finished yet. The administration of the Shire of 2J submitted the financial reports for audit at the end of October. The Audit and Risk Committee plays no part in the audit. The Audit and Risk Committee didn't even know, hasn't seen those documents, had not seen those documents during the audit.
That's not answering my question. My question is, what processes did they put in place to ensure that the information was given? What is the role of the Audit and the Risk Committee?
Well, it's not the role of the Audit and Risk Committee to provide financial statements.
I'm not ask-
That's all.
I'm not asking them to provide.
Yeah.
I said, what processes did they follow to ensure that this information was provided?
The information for the audit was provided by the Shire of 2J to the auditor at the end of October.
The letter, I just said that
Point of
insufficient evidence
Point of order.
was. Insufficient
Sorry,
evidence.
stop,
No,
excuse
no,
me.
you're not listening to me.
No, excuse me, there's been a point of order called. Do you have a point of order?
Yeah, I do. Member of the public is disrupting the meeting. Sorry, I'm just going to...
I agree that the member of the public is debating and I've had enough of it, so you may resume your seat, Councillor. Mrs Pearce. Mrs Ruthven.
What was the total cost of the rental, including rent, utilities, cleaning and any other costs related to the use of the Shire's use of the property?
$13,414.
Does that include the electricity and water bills that are yet to be paid?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Where are the appliances which were purchased for the users of the rental property?
19A Clinton Street.
Which is a Shire property. You ask the next one while you're there, it's on a similar note.
So since vacating the rental property at Jubilee Street, where have the CEO and or other staff been staying?
19A Clinton Street.
Thank you.
Thank you. Which I think takes me back to Mr Lemass.
Question number 1. In the April 2025 payment list, item 281 on page 51 shows a payment of $100,872 to Vision Investments PL for work completed on Bindi Bindi 2J Road Project SLK 5.63 to 7.02 and SLK 7.02 to 9.1A. Could you please confirm whether the purchasing policy was followed, specifically regarding the threshold that requires obtaining at least 3 written responses from suppliers by invitation under the formal request of quotation, RFQ?
Exec Manager.
Sorry, through the chair, purchasing policy was followed.
That was from Tenderling and Walga
Sorry,
Preferred Supplier.
Sorry, Mr. Lamass, there's no discussion. You've had your answer.
But I'm
Move
just
on to
asking
the
a
next.
clarification.
Move on to the next question.
No, that's fine. I just finished. So thank you.
Okay. So Mr. Lamass has no more questions, I gather. Mr. Heffernan has finalised his questions. Oh, Mrs. Pearce.
In the May edition of the 2J Herald, the Shire President reported that Council had approved at the April OCM an increase of $500,000 in the current budget for the maintenance of roads infrastructure from $150,000 to $690,000 to be spent by the 30th of June. We are now at the end of the financial year. Would you please explain where the additional programs were undertaken, what was completed, and the total funds expended on these projects?
Okay, Exec Manager.
Sorry, through the chair, the increased expenditure has been on the general road maintenance.
I think Mrs. Pearce might have been asking for a bit more detail than that. So I'll take that on notice. Next question, Mrs. Pearce.
In the 23-24 budget, $64,280 was allocated to upgrade Salt Valley Road. This was not done. The extractive and waste industries annually contribute to the maintenance into the road reserve contribution to maintain the roads that they travel on. The $64,000 was transferred out of this road reserve contribution account. The first question relating to that is, why did this upgrade not occur? And secondly, why was
let's deal with that one first. So, Exec Manager.
Through the chair, it could not be completed by the 30th of June 2025.
And so your next question, Mrs. Pearce.
Why was the amount transferred out of the reserve account?
Through the chair, it hasn't been transferred out of reserve. We haven't done the reserve transfers for the 24-25 year, and because the works haven't been done, the transfer won't occur.
As I'm not permitted to to debate, I've actually seen it in the paper, in the agenda attachments, that it has been transferred out and that there is a reduction of $64,000 in that there. So can you please explain what that means?
That's the budget, not the actual.
That's two questions, Mrs. Pearce. Mrs. Ruthven.
Pardon me. My next question related to the answers to last month's public questions taken on notice. The section 5.78B of the Shire Standing Orders Local Law requires responses to questions taken on notice to be included in the next month's agenda. And my question was, why does the agenda say nil under section 5.1 responses when there were 15 questions taken on notice at the May OCM?
I'll
And
let you... Sorry.
Since I sent the questions in, the agenda has been corrected.
I think you still deserve an answer though, Mrs. Ruthven, so could you explain, CEO?
Yeah, through the chair, that was an administrative error. as soon as the officers became aware of that, it was corrected and correctly published on the website.
Thank you. And next question. Last month I asked about the purchase of generators, or generator, this is plural, valued at $19,900, including the question, where would the generator be used? The first part of the question was answered, but not the second part. So I'm asking that question again.
The generator will be used at the recreation centre. Okay. Mr Lamass, do you wish to ask? Is Mr Lamass still here? Gone. So it's going to be tag teaming between Mrs Ruthven and Mrs Pearce. Mrs Pearce.
Carrying on from the question about the upgrade of Salt Valley Road, is there a plan to carry the upgrade into the next year's budget and next year's plans?
Through the Chair, it's up to Council to decide, and they'll do that as part of the 25-26 budget deliberations.
Payments to IGA total $2,000 and recorded as the Western Australian and office supplies for councillors, the Visitor Centre, the CRC, planning, administration, library and and the depot. Would you please explain what type of supplies, office supplies, were provided to councillors in these accounts?
Tea, coffee, milk.
There were other office supplies in this monthly list totalling approximately $1,300. What type of office supplies from IGO totalling $2,000 were for the various departments?
Tea, coffee, milk, food for catering events, papers and magazines for the library.
Can you please explain to me how tea, coffee is grouped under office supplies?
No.
I think that's my two questions.
Yes. Mrs Ruthven.
Also from the monthly payments lists, payment made to LK Advisory Proprietary Limited of $4,400 had no description provided. Would you please explain the purpose of this payment?
I'm not sure which department this belongs to, CEO. Yes, planning, thank you.
The payment to LK Advisory was for attendance on a matter which was before the SAT that related to a confidential item that cannot be disclosed.
Thank you. And in the credit card payments, there was on the card held by Vanessa Crisp a payment to Kmart of $251 with no explanation. Could you please explain what this was for?
Through the Chair, this was purchased at Kmart for crockery and cutlery for the Gillamar Bushfire Station, and it's all claimed through the LGGS.
What is LGGS?
Sorry?
ESL.
ESL.
ESL, thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Mrs Pearce.
This question refers to item 9.2.4, the purchase of a plant and equipment. In this month's agenda, the officers are recommending approving the purchase of $400,000 for a front-end loader prior to the adoption of the 25-26 budget, because the lease will end in July 2025. And one is available, but if the decision was delayed, there might not be one. They might need time to wait. First of all, how was the purchasing policy adhered to in this quote or this recommendation?
That's a money matter. Acting CEO. Pass that to you.
Thanks. The purchasing policy was adhered to in terms of
Look,
obtaining...
I'm sorry, I did say that we cannot hear you because 2 microphones are on. Would that be right? We cannot hear you at the back. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The purchasing policy was adhered to through obtaining 3 quotes, but the acquisition hasn't occurred yet.
Okay.
This is subject to a report tonight.
The second part of that question, what investigation was undertaken to determine if the machines are available to purchase if it was waited until the 25-26 budget was adopted?
I'm not quite sure of what you're asking. What investigation was undertaken to determine if other machines are available? Is that what you're asking?
The officer's report said that at the moment there is a machine available, but if it was not approved in this month, it's possible that they would have to wait to get a machine.
That's
so
correct, yeah.
my question is, what investigation was undertaken to see if there are other machines that would be available after the adoption?
We have sourced alternative machines. If a machine is not available and we have to wait, then we will have to hire a machine in the short term.
I'm sorry, that's not answering my question. But do I have to be happy with that answer?
I think to be fair to Mrs Pearce, she's asking, were other machines priced? Is that what you're asking? Were other machines considered?
You have both microphones on. I cannot hear you. I'm sorry.
No, to be fair to you, you're asking, were other machines considered before the decision was made?
No, that's not my question. My question is, what investigation occurred if another machine will be available? Because in the officer's report, it's indicated there is a machine available to be purchased now, if it was approved. But if the council waited until the adoption, there might not be one, they might have to wait. So my question is, what investigation was to see how many machines of that front-end loader are available at this time in present?
So you're wondering what machines are available now?
Exactly.
I'm not sure that's relevant.
I'm not sure if I understand that, because in the officer's report it mentions that if the decision was delayed, there is one available now, but if the decision was delayed, the possibility that we would have to wait for a time to get another machine. So to me that is valid, an investigation, how many machines are available.
At the present time?
Yes.
Is that your question?
That's right.
Thank you. Exec Manager.
Currently, we have gone out to 6 separate suppliers, and we have 3 machines that would be available end of July and 3 machines that would be available end of August.
Thank you. Want to sit down?
I think... How many more have you got, Mrs Pearce? No,
I have another one in relation to this
if it's
item.
on the same topic, yes.
Okay, on the same topic.
Yeah.
As the officer's recommendation, variations to the budget has not... I had some trouble printing with this here. The cash variations, the budget has not been completed and the audit was a disclaimer. What assurance does Council have that the Shire has sufficient funds until rates are received to purchase this machine now?
I'll allow the Acting CEO to answer that, but I've got reservations about the question.
Through the Chair, the officer's recommendation is not to purchase the machine now. The recommendation is to place the order ahead of Council adopting the 2025-26 budget. The item is included in the budget and the budget is a balanced budget. So it's funded.
Okay, I'll answer other questions after.
Mrs Ruthven?
Are payments still being made to Datacom And if yes, why are there none in this month's or last month's payments lists?
CEO?
Through the Chair, payments are still being made to Datacom. The last payment was made in February. They haven't been made for some time, but they're about to be paid.
Our next questions relate to item 9.2.5, the attendance of the Office of the Auditor General for the entrance. Have any of the attachments in this item, 1, 2 or 4, been made confidential by the OAG, or has that decision been made by the administration?
Acting CEO?
Through the Chair, that was a decision of the OAG according to their standards, their directions.
Item the monthly financials, 9.2.3. According to the monthly financials, there has been an underspend of approximately $900,000 on employee costs, possibly due to vacancies. In the question I did ask in the last 10 months, but let's say just generally, how much has been spent on consultants, tradespeople to do the maintenance and mechanical work previously done by Shire employees to offset this lack of staff?
That's a question that requires a bit of detail, so we'll take that on notice.
Under which cost centres have these payments been made or entered?
Oh, that's the same. That's a lot of detail in that. I'm taking that as one question, if you like.
Well, the other one that relates to this one then. What is the difference between the consultants and the payments and the unspent budgeted employment costs?
I think that'd be in the detail. Mrs. Ruthven?
My next question I withdraw since it's irrelevant based on the previous answer that I've received.
Okay.
Next one is, when will the annual report be available and the annual electors meeting be held? Is there a deadline that has to be done by?
There are statutory requirements. There's no connection between the annual report and the electors meeting, strictly speaking. But the annual report needs to be completed within 56 days, I think, of the receipt of the audit report. So that's when the annual report would at the earliest become available, but become available before that. So that's 8 weeks from 2 weeks ago, so 6 weeks' time.
Why does the Audit Committee recommendation shown on page 32 include neither the Audit Committee resolution number nor the votes? Now, I would like to read something to you. Now, this is from the administration regulations, and it's 13.1. So, the CEO must publish on the local government's official website if a council or and this is publication of unconfirmed minutes of meetings. So it must be published on the website. If a council or committee meeting is closed to members of the public, as is the Audit Committee, that part of the unconfirmed minutes of the meeting that is a record of decisions of the meeting. So to me, that says the resolutions must be published on the website.
Yeah, I think, do we do that, CEO? I think we do that.
The Audit Committee meetings, the minutes are not published on the website because the committee doesn't have delegated authority, so the minutes do not need to be published.
According to this regulation, they do.
I would reread the regulation.
That takes me back to my question, that the recommendation that's showing on page 32, supposedly from the Audit Committee, but that can't be confirmed because there's no resolution number.
Well,
You don't know what the vote was. So how do we know that that is a true recommendation from the Audit Committee?
do you really asking that question?
Beg your pardon?
It's a recommendation from the Audit Committee. So you're asking me, how do you know that that recommendation had a number and was voted for? You're asking me that question.
Yes, because at the way it's recorded, it is just words. And it says that it was from the Audit Committee, but there's nothing to say that that was an Audit Committee decision because there's no resolution number and there's no vote, which is required for resolutions.
No, I think the acting CEO has hit the nail on the head when he's asked you to check the regulation again. Mrs. Pearce?
This question refers to item 9.3.1, the community grant funding. This is before council tonight. Would you please explain why the officer has recommended $25,000 community grant funding for 3 years to the Community Resource Centre, where the Resource Centre is not a community organisation and it is run by the Shire?
Exec Manager?
Through the Chair, it's been done to demonstrate to the community the level of support towards the cost of running the CRC.
Is the Resource Centre a community organisation as per the community grant policy?
Sorry, that's a separate question. And it's not registered here. Move on to your next question, please.
Why is this not an operational budget item and the money to be provided to support community initiatives in other organisations, community organisations?
Acting CEO, Exec Manager.
Through the Chair, it is an operational budget item. As the Exec Manager correctly said, it is just a demonstration of our commitment to the ongoing cost of the CRC.
Well, Mrs. Pearce, while you're there, you've only got one more question, so would you like to finish off?
At the April OCM, I sought clarification on the misrepresentation and the incorrect recording in the March minutes of a question I asked. The Shire President said he would investigate. A report was not provided. Would you please inform me the result of the investigation of the misrepresentation of the recording in the March minutes of my question?
There was no misrepresentation. Mrs. Ruthven, the floor is yours.
Our next question was, why are the Audit Committee minuted decisions or resolutions not being published on the Shire's website? By the Administration Regulation 13(1)B, and 13.3.
Through the Chair, there's no requirement to publish the minutes on the website in accordance with 13.1A of the admin regs. The Audit Committee has no delegated authority and is therefore not open to the public.
So could you please explain what 13.1B says?
Well, no, because that's another question. You haven't asked that question. The question you asked has been answered.
I did
Would you-
ask it before, but it wasn't addressed.
Okay. Would you like to move on to your next question, please?
It's to do with the delegations review, item 9.4.1. Delegations review is adopted as per the amended document in the attachment to this agenda. Will the CEO have the power to approve subdivisions of up to 10 dwellings without the subdivision coming to council? Because an exclusion of up to 10 dwellings which has been removed. So if the answer to that is no, why has the exclusion been deleted?
The initial document that went out was to recommend that that be excluded. The actual document, and under direction of Aaron, the CEO, who isn't here tonight, is to actually keep that delegation in place.
As it is, without changing it?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Has that been amended in the documents for voting tonight?
Sorry, Councillor. Mrs. Ruthven?
So when council comes to vote on the delegation review,
Yeah.
will they be voting on that item being restored or excluded?
Well, at the moment, we'll be voting on the item in the officer's report in which that is excluded, yes. I'll just point out that that PRS 8, is it, that we're talking about, refers to development applications, not subdivisions. Subdivision isn't mentioned in PRS 8. Subdivisions are within the remit of the Western Australian Planning Commission, not the Shire of 2J. And PRS 8 doesn't talk about subdivisions, it talks about development applications.
What is the point of the up to 10 dwellings if it's
I've got
not a
no idea.
subdivision? I shall remove my next questions, bearing in mind the answer that I've just received. To
I think all your questions are the
Sorry.
Councillor McCormick?
Yeah, sorry, I just missed what Mrs. Ruthven said about removing questions, was it?
Yeah, I think because Mrs. Ruthven has asked a similar question about several different agenda items. Is that correct, Mrs. Ruthven?
the ones that I was going to remove were the ones about why that significant change was not disclosed in the officer report.
Oh, okay, thank you.
What community consultation will be conducted, etc.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Yeah, okay, got that, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Mrs. Ruthven, continue on if you wish.
So my last four questions all relate to the same thing that I've asked before in another item.
Well, I guess if they're the same, a similar question, you're going to get a similar answer. Thank you. So that brings us to the end of question time. The next item on the agenda will now be item 9.1.1, unless we have, confirmation of minutes. We have item 5.1, The recommendation refers to the minutes of the council meeting held on the 22nd of May 2025. The officer's recommendation is that the unconfirmed minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 22nd of May 2025 be confirmed. Do I have a mover? Councillor Prater. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Devell. Are there any objections? I declare... Councillor McCormick, you okay?
Yes.
With no objections, we'll declare that carried. The next item is announcements by the presiding member. Just bear with me. Okay, since the April Ordinary Council meeting, on the 25th of April, I attended the dawn and 11 a.m. Anzac Day services organised by the RSL in 2J. On the 1st of May, I attended and chaired a meeting of the Bushfire Advisory Committee. On the 8th of May, I attended a Shire of 2J briefing and workshop. On the 8th of May, I also attended and presided at a special meeting of Council for the purpose of considering advertising of a tender for the management of the 2J Aquatic Centre. On the 12th of May at 2J, I attended and chaired a meeting of the governance group of the Avon Regional Organisation of Councils. On the 15th of May, I attended a workshop regarding proposed roadworks at Donkey Crossing. That's a Shire workshop. On the 15th of May, I attended and chaired the agenda briefing prior to the May Ordinary Council meeting. On the 22nd of May, I attended and presided at the Ordinary Council meeting for May. On the 1st of June, I attended the Elevate Hot Air Ballooning Festival as a guest of the Shire of Northam. On the 5th of June, I attended a meeting of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. On the 11th of June, together with the CEO, I attended a meeting in 2J with senior officers of the Department of Local Government. On the 12th of June, I attended a Shire of 2J briefing and workshop. On the 19th of June, with the CEO, I attended an information briefing with staff from Main Roads WA. On the 19th of June, I attended and chaired an agenda briefing prior to this meeting. On the 20th of June, I attended a meeting of the Wolga Avon Midland Country Zone, which was held at York. And on the 24th of June, I attended a meeting of the School Council of the 2J District High School. So the first substantive item on the agenda is item 9.1.1, request to vary the ancillary accommodation policy LPP2 868 Julimar Road. And there is a revised officer's recommendation that Council supports the request received, attachment 1, for variation to local planning policy 2, ancillary accommodation, in respect of the application for an ancillary dwelling at 868 Julimar Road, and 2, permits the ancillary dwelling to be located as per the plans in confidential attachment 2 at a greater separation distance and to provide a dwelling larger than permitted under the policy. Do I have a mover? Councillor Devell.
Yes, I'll move that.
Oh, okay, Councillor McCormick, seconded. Councillor Devell. Do I have any objections? No objection from you, Councillor McCormick?
No.
So I'll declare that carried. The next item is 9.2.1, related parties disclosure policy, and the recommendation is that Council adopts the revised related parties and related parties disclosure policy as attached, attachment 4, and requests the Chief Executive Officer make any typographical amendments to the revised policy or associated documentation that are considered necessary prior to them being published. Moved by Councillor Prater, seconded by Councillor Jury. Any objections? Councillor McCormick?
No objections.
Thank you. So I'll declare that carried. Item 9.2.2, list of payments. The officer's recommendation is that Council receives the list of accounts as presented and listed below for the month of May. In summary, there were municipal cheques for just over $10,000, EFT payments of $640,000, payroll of $249,000, nearly $250,000, credit cards of $6,600 and other payments including direct debits of $57,720, a total list of accounts of $965,160.63. Do I have a mover? Councillor Deval. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Jury. Are there any objections?
No.
Thank you. I declare that carried. Item 9.2.3, monthly financial statements, with the recommendation being that Council receives the monthly financial statements for May 2025, attachment 1. Do I have a mover? Councillor Deval. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Prater. Any objections? Councillor McCormick? No answer?
No objection.
Thank you. I declare that carried. Item 9.2.4 refers to a purchase of plant equipment. I think this should be absolute majority, not a simple majority. Am I correct? Yep. Okay, so this requires an absolute majority, and the officer's recommendation is that Council approves the acquisition of a front-end loader at an approximate cost of $400,000 in advance of Council adopting the 2025-26 annual budget. Do I have a mover? Councillor Deval. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Jury. Are there any objections? Councillor McCormick.
No objection.
Any objections in the chamber? I declare that carried. Moving on to item 9.2. I've got the same number. Doesn't matter. That number may be incorrect. I've got attendance of the Office of the Auditor General for the entrance and exit meeting. The officer's recommendation that Council receives the following confidential attachments provided by the OAG at the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on the 5th of June. Number 1, the closing report for the audit for the financial year ending in June 24, the financial management letter attachment, the draft audit opinion from the OAG for the financial year ending June 24, and the audit plan for the financial year ending June 25. Do I have a mover? Councillor Deval. Seconder, Councillor Prater. Do I have any objections? Councillor McCormick.
No objection.
Any objections in the chamber? Declare that carried. The second, that was an officer's recommendation. There's a second recommendation from the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee that the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee notes the attendance of the Office of the Auditor General for the entrance meeting for the 24-25 audit and the exit meeting for the 23-24 audit, and receives the verbal and written confidential attachments provided by the OAG during the meeting as attached. I'm not sure on the wording of this one. That's me just see. So what we're voting on is that the Audit and Risk Committee has noted that, and the Audit and Risk Committee has received that. So it should be, am I correct?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Sorry, Mr Chair.
Yeah.
I think from memory that should read that the committee recommends that council notes the attendance.
Okay. So that doesn't alter the... I think there might be a line missing. Might be. So if I change that then, so can we put the Audit and Risk and Improvement Committee Councillor Deval, can you say it again?
Yeah, sorry. The Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee recommendation is that council
Okay.
notes.
But is that council notes, that council at the top? Okay. With that amendment, will you move that, Councillor
I will.
Deval?
Yes.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Prater. Any objections, Councillor McCormick?
No objection.
Any objections in the chamber? Okay, I'll declare that carried.
Sorry, point of order. That was for the amendment. Do we need to now?
No, I
vote on
made
this
it a
as
minor
standard?
amendment.
Well done.
Yeah, that was with the minor amendment.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
right, sorry.
Yeah. So you're happy that you've done the right thing? Yep, okay. Item 9.3.1 refers to the community grant funding that we've had some questions about. And the officer's recommendation is that council approves the following funding requests to be included in the draft 25-26 annual budget. 2J Triathlon Club, $3,500. Can we take that acronym out and put the full name of that organisation in, whatever it is? So what is the name of that? It's the Noongar, Sandra? Yeah, can you tell us?
Through the chair, Nora Kerrigan, Aboriginal Corporation.
Thank you. $4,500. Arts 2J Incorporated for workshops, $1,500. Arts 2J Incorporated for an arts trail event, $1,750. And Arts 2J Incorporated for an exhibition prize, $2,000. And council notes all activities will be delivered during the 25-26 financial year, and notes the new proposed funding commitments via agreements is valued at $79,000. Does that include the CRC at $79,000?
Through the chair, I believe it does.
Okay. So do I have a mover for this? Councillor Prater. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Jury. Are there any objections? Councillor McCormick?
No objection.
Okay, so there's no objections in the chamber, so I'll declare that carried. The next item is 9.3.1 regarding a memorandum of understanding with Tarmac West Rally. The officer's recommendation that council approves the new memorandum of understanding between the Shire of 2J and Tarmac Events WA Proprietary Limited for a 5-year period from 2025 to 2029. Do I have a mover? Councillor Jury and Councillor Prater seconded that. Any objections?
No objection.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll declare that carried. The next item refers to the delegations register, 9.4.1, and the recommendation is council adopts by absolute majority the instruments of delegation contained in the revised register of delegations, attachment 1 as follows: Executive Services section, Corporate and Community Services section, Planning and Regulatory Services section, Infrastructure, Assets and Services, and the External Agencies Assignment of Power to Statutory Office Holders section, and requests the CEO to make any necessary typographical changes prior to publication. Just for a bit of change, I'll move this one. Is there somebody else seconding it? Councillor Prater. Are there any objections? Councillor McCormick?
No objection.
Thank you. I'll declare that carried. Item 9.4.2, this item is approval of earthworks for the 2J Race Club. The officer's recommendation is that council approves the hosting of up to 4 rodeos a year, including overnight camping and live entertainment at the 2J Racecourse grounds by the 2J Race Club, and approves the proposed earthworks as outlined in attachment 2, and delegates authority to the CEO to approve any variations to the earthworks, as shown in attachment 2 here. So do I have a mover? Councillor Devell. Seconder? Councillor Jury. Any objections? Councillor McCormick.
No objection. No objection.
Thank you. So I declare that carried. Item 9.6.1, just bear with me for a minute. Business continuity and the disaster recovery plan. The officer's recommendation is council endorses the business continuity continuity and disaster recovery plan, and notes that it will be incorporated into the organisation's risk management framework, and authorises the CEO to make any further typographical amendments necessary before publication of the document on the Shire's website. Do I have a mover? Councillor Prater. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Devell. Do I have any objections?
No objection.
Thank you. So I declare that carried. Then there's also a second recommendation from the Audit and Risk Committee. That Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee recommends to Council the following: that Council endorses the business continuity and disaster recovery plan, and notes that it will be incorporated into the organisation's risk management framework, and authorises the CEO to make any further typographical amendments necessary before publication on the document on the Shire's website. Do I have a mover? Councillor Prater. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Jury. Any objections? Okay.
No objection.
Okay, can I just make a comment here that it might have been more logical to have that before the other one? Yeah, the Audit and Risk Committee recommendation before the officer's recommendation. Item 9.6.2, Transaction Card Policy Review. Yeah, the officer's recommendation, I'll do it round the other way this time. The Audit and Risk Committee recommendation is that the Audit and Risk Committee Improvement Committee recommends to Council the following: that Council adopts the Transaction Cards Policy Attachment 7 and authorises the CEO to make any typographical changes. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Prater. Seconder, Councillor Devell. Any objections? Councillor McCormick?
No objection.
Thank you. I'll declare that carried. And the officer's recommendation is that Council adopts the Transaction Cards Policy Attachment 7 and authorises the CEO to make any minor typographical changes prior to publication. Do I have a mover? Councillor Devell. Seconder, Councillor Jury. Are there any objections?
No objection.
Thank you. Any in the chamber? No. Declare that carried. Item 9.6.3, the Financial Management Review, Risk Assessment and Improvement Plan. The Audit and Risk Committee recommendation is that the Audit and Risk and Improvement Committee recommends to Council the following: that Council receives and notes the updated Shire of 2J Risk Assessment and Improvement Plan, confidential attachment 1. Do I have a mover? I'll do it for change. Councillor McEwen, seconded. Councillor Devell. Any objections?
No objection.
Okay, I'll declare that carried. And the officer's recommendation is Council receives and notes the updated Shire of 2J Risk Assessment and Improvement Plan, confidential attachment 1. Moved by Councillor Prater, seconded by Councillor Devell. Any objections?
No objection.
In the chamber? No. Declare that carried. Item 9.6.4 refers to the IT. So this is IT health check, information technology health check. The Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee recommends to Council the following: that Council receives the results of the 2J IT health check, confidential attachment 1, and requests the CEO develop a 3-year plan to implement the recommendations in the Shire of 2J IT health check. Do I have a mover? Councillor Devell. Seconder, Councillor Jury. Any objections?
No objection.
No objections from anywhere, so I'll declare that carried, which takes us back to the officer's recommendation that Council receives the results of the Shire of 2J IT health check, confidential attachment 1, and requests the Chief Executive Officer develop a 3-year plan to implement the recommendations in the Shire of 2J IT health check. Do I have a mover? Councillor Devell, and I will second that one. So are there any objections?
No objection.
So I'll declare that carried. There's nothing under item 10, 11, 12 or 13, which brings us to item 14. So item 14 refers to two items of likely confidential business. The first item refers to the 2J Medical Group, and the recommendation is yes, that these confidential reports, that council considers the confidential reports listed below in a meeting to be closed to the public in accordance with section 523(2) of the Local Government Act, and the item 14.1 for the 2J Medical Group. This matter is considered to be confidential under section 523(2)(b), c and e 3 of the Local Government Act, and council is satisfied that discussion of this matter in an open meeting would on balance be contrary to the public interest, as it deals with the personal affairs of a person, a contract entered into or which may be entered into by the local government, and which relates to a matter to be discussed at the meeting, and a matter that, if disclosed, would reveal information about the business, professional or financial affairs of a person, where the trade secret or information is held by or is about a person other than the local government. So I'll ask for a mover for that particular item.
Yes, I'll move that.
Councillor McCormick, and a seconder.
Sorry, point of order.
Yeah.
Oh, should we be going behind closed doors for that?
To vote on to going behind closed doors, no. We're voting on going behind closed doors at the moment. We're voting on closing the meeting to the public.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the item 14.1.
No,
like the
just
actual item.
Just closing the meeting to the public.
Okay.
Councillor Prater.
Do we actually have to go, if there's no objections to it?
Well, I haven't got a seconder yet. No, you can ask me again. Ask again.
For the officer's report there, if there's no objection to it, we don't have to go behind it.
Is that what you're saying, Councillor Deval, as well?
No, I was
I think we need to
confused
go
as to
behind
what
closed
I
doors.
thought you were...
No, I'm not putting the motion. I'm just putting the motion to close the meeting to the public.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and it's been moved by Councillor McCormick. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Deval. Do I have any objections on that one? So there is another item that's likely to be confidential. So, and that is to do with Lot 1, Morangup Road, Morangup, reconsideration of a decision regarding renewal of extractive industry licence, Austral Bricks. I have a different motion than the one listed in the agenda. I think that this matter should be considered to be confidential under section 523 brackets 2, B and D, where B refers to the personal affairs of any person, which this does, and D, that legal advice may be obtained or which may be obtained by the local government, which relates to the matter to be discussed. So that's why I think it should be be closed to the public. Do I have a mover? Councillor Deval. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Prater. So do I have any objections to that?
No objection.
Okay, so we'll close the meeting to the public now, and I would ask for the gallery to be cleared. I'm not sure. Do we think we need you here? No? Yeah. Do you think CEO just... They can stay. They can stay. We'll be back online shortly, councillors, so best behaviour, please. Is it back open? Oh, yeah. Get a screenshot of that. So can they see that? Hope so. Thank you. We're back from behind, back open to the public. Whilst the meeting was closed to the public, 2 resolutions were passed. One to do with the 2J Medical Group. The officer's recommendation for that item being that council approves the recommendation outlined in the officer's report, and that was moved by Councillor Prater, seconded by Councillor Jury, and passed unanimously. The second item, item 14.2, referred to 1010 Lot 1 Moorangap Road, Moorangap, reconsideration of decision regarding renewal of extractive industry licence, Austral Bricks, and the officer's recommendation was 1. Pursuant to clause 77 of the deemed provisions of the Planning and Development Act 2015 to modify the 27th of the 9th 2016 issued development approval with new conditions, A, remove the reference to the approved extractive industry licence and clay extraction management plan 1010 brackets Lot 1 Moorangap Road, Moorangap, dated 15 June 2016, and replace this with reference to the approved extractive industries licence and clay extractive management plan 1010 Lot 1 Moorangap Road, Moorangap, dated August 2023, and B, remove conditions A to I inclusive of the 2016 development application and replace these with the following conditions and advice notes to be known as the 2025 conditions. 1. Management plan. A. Development is to be in accordance with the approved extractive industries licence application management plan, Lot 1 Moorangap Road, Austral Bricks Proprietary Limited, August 2023, including any amendments placed thereon by Council, and except as may be modified by the following conditions, which will be limited to Roman numeral 1, no more than 69.7 hectares of area, and Roman numeral 2, no deeper than 15 metres from the natural ground level, and Roman numeral 3, an extraction of no more than 160,000 tonnes of material per annum, and Roman numeral 4, a setback of minimum of 50 metres from the lot boundary, and B, operating hours are limited to Roman numeral 1, 0600 to 1700 from Monday to Friday, and Roman numeral 2, 0600 to 1700 on Saturday, subject to no more than 40 loaded truck movements per day, and B, no truck movements on no more than 12 agreed days per year by mutual agreement with the Shire of 2J. This agreement is to be provided to the operator before the end of January annually to provide sufficient time for scheduling. 2. Transport management. A. All loaded trucks to be covered. B. Enter into an agreement with the Shire of 2J to establish the obligations of both parties in the establishment of a road contributions plan, which shall include a financial contribution and payment plan payable annually whilst cartage campaigns are operational. 3. Reporting. The applicant operator is to provide a written report to the Shire of 2J no later than the 31st of July each year for for each financial year outlining Roman numeral 1, progress of excavation including photos, Roman numeral 2, progress of rehabilitation including photos, Roman numeral 3, tonnage of material carted from the site, Roman numeral 4, road maintenance contributions, Roman numeral 5, community complaints and responses / actions, Roman numeral 6, self-audit on the conditions of the extractive industry licence, and Roman numeral 7, currency of public liability insurance. 4, annual licence fee. The applicant is required to pay an annual licence fee to the Shire as determined by the Shire's schedule of fees and charges. These annual charges are listed as being related to the extractive industry local law, but will apply in this case. And there are some advice notes. 1. The method used for the calculation of road contributions shall be the Walga Heavy Vehicle Cost Recovery Policy Guideline for sealed roads. 2. Dewatering shall be in accordance with Water Quality Protection Note 13, dewatering of soils. And 3, measures are to be taken to minimise the amount of dust pollution associated with the extraction site and to comply with the Environmental Protection Act 1986 and the Department of Environmental Regulation guidelines. Now we're going back to item 2. Item 1 was all about the detail of the licence and things like that. Item 2 is Council reconsiders a decision to refuse to grant an extractive industry licence to Austral Bricks to operate a clay extractive quarry at 1010 Lot 1 Morangup Road in Morangup at the Ordinary Council meeting held on the 26th of June 2024, Attachment 1. And that last item, Council issues an extractive industry licence to Austral Bricks WA to operate a clay extractive industry licence at 1010 Lot 1 Morangup Road in Morangup in alignment with the conditions and modified in this report. And that's been moved by Councillor DeVal, seconded by Councillor Jury and passed unanimously. Item 15 is the information regarding the upcoming meetings, which is listed in the agenda. At the moment, we're having another meeting towards the end of July for the Ordinary Council meeting on the 4th Thursday in July. And that being said, I will declare the meeting closed at 7:13 p.m.